Yo people, welcome back to another video. I hope everyone has been having a good day. Cause after watching this show, I know I have. I'm gonna give a quick non-spoiler overview of the three Ahsoka episodes and then a spoiler review where I'll talk about each episode. I will be dropping a part 2 based on Dooku's episode, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into this. So the first thing I can say is that if you've watched Clone Wars and Rebels, the payoff is going to be crazy. You'll definitely get the best payoff compared to someone who hasn't watched the animated shows. You can still enjoy it even if you haven't watched it, but episode 2 in particular will just not hit the same if you haven't seen Clone Wars. You can still enjoy the lessons though. There are also a lot of tie-ins with the animated shows which only boost the experience, and it really fills out a lot of the blanks and some of the questions people had based on Ahsoka's character. These three episodes really boosted Ahsoka's character even more, and it really helped to further eliminate the argument when people claim, oh, Ahsoka's too powerful, oh, she doesn't deserve it, she's only powerful because the script says so, or because she's Anakin's student. We actually get to see her natural power, we see her working really hard, so people can start binning those arguments right now. Dave Filoni found a way to prove people wrong, and he keeps producing solid work as well. When his name is associated to any project, you know it's not going to fail. He's literally the only person at the moment working on Star Wars that you can just guarantee will produce great content. He does a really good job at picking out three moments in Ahsoka's life that are important, but ones that we have never seen before. They're very basic stories as well, but he manages to give it so much meaning, which I guess is the real skill in story writing. I can't really find any negatives to highlight other than I wish the episodes were longer, even though they're already longer than the average short should even be. As far as I'm aware as well, they didn't crush canon, they didn't contradict themselves, which is good to see. The main theme across the three episodes as well is life and death, so it's interesting how it comes across and how it takes place in all the episodes. It makes you appreciate Ahsoka's character even more, but I'll dive into that a bit more later, which does bring me to the spoiler warning. If you haven't seen this show and you don't want any spoilers, I suggest to click off now and come back later. This is your warning. So Ahsoka's first episode is called Life and Death. Overall, the episode is about Ahsoka's culture, her village, the people. They give the indigenous vibes, which is something you don't really identify with an alien, like indigenous aliens, so that was a cool aspect, I guess. It was very visual based as well, with not that much speaking, and they really highlighted how good the animation style is with this episode. I feel like it's come a long way since season 1. But yeah, it was a chill one, it was a good way to start the whole series of shorts. We find out that their language is called Togruti, and overall the story has that whole miraculous child vibes, similar to Grogu and what they're doing with him in The Mandalorian. The way it ends as well with Ahsoka basically using the Force to tame the animal so that it takes her back home. It instantly reminded me of the Book of Boba Fett when Grogu uses the Force to tame the Rancor. It was the whole let the cute baby appear and do something miraculous to really show how special they are. I really liked Gantika. She's the elderly wise lady character. She's basically the main character that embodies the whole indigenous culture for me. The way she basically does the prayers, she was wearing the spiritual rock thing. She gives Ahsoka and Pavti the good luck paint before they go hunting. So overall, I thought her character stood out in a good way. And she's the one that basically realizes at the end that Ahsoka is a Jedi. The one complaint I'd have with the episode, and it seemed kind of unrealistic, is that Ahsoka's mom would go hunting by herself with a baby. But it seems like the rule was a thing, and that's allowed because Gentika asks if it's been a year already since Ahsoka was born, and then she kind of just allows it and gives them the blessing. I did, however, like how Ahsoka's mom is teaching her child about facing up to life and death, how it's natural, and she does it through hunting, so Ahsoka gets to learn both perspectives, being the predator and being the prey. So overall, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't nothing too crazy, but something to start off right. We move on to episode 2, Practice Makes Perfect, and it was crazy for me from the get-go because straight away when Anakin walks into the training room, you see Padawan Kanan from Rebels. The fact that we see him yet again after his appearance in The Bad Batch, it was pretty trippy, and the fact that he's watching Ahsoka training and then they meet in the future, it was all kind of crazy for me. It was cool to see all the other Jedis watching, Yoda, Plo Koon, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Obi-Wan still had the long hair from Attack of the Clones, and Anakin had cut his Padawan braid and started growing it out, so it's a good indication of time. This is just before season 1 of Clone Wars. The episode does a really good job of showing Anakin really pushing Ahsoka and showing her to be different from the rest of the Jedi. The way that they managed to add Captain Rex and some of the 501st into the episode is nice as well, as they are the ones that are part of Anakin's special test for Ahsoka. Anakin says himself that the droids are predictable, so we can see why Ahsoka is just a far better fighter than a lot of the other characters, and why she's special. It's because of Anakin, his teachings, and Anakin forces her, he pushes her all the time with extra training, and he always ups the difficulty. The part that stood out for me was when Anakin tells Ahsoka that she should be able to feel the intention of the opposition, and by doing so sense it before they've even pulled the trigger. This just clarifies how exactly the Force helps a Jedi in battle. It just shows how attuned their senses have to be, just for any nitpickers out there. It was crazy to then see how they transitioned from pre-Clone Wars to what seemed to be around the season 3, maybe season 4 time period of Clone Wars, which indicates that Ahsoka would have always been doing these extra training sessions with the clone troopers, therefore making her just a far more skilled fighter. But the most important is the parallel, which is the way she escaped Order 66. She faces the clones, she knows what she's up against, and to be honest, now that we look at it, Anakin's teachings saved her from that Order 66. And then lastly, speaking of Order 66, the episode transitions right to the part where Ahsoka and Rex plan to pretend to the other clone troopers that Rex has Ahsoka captured, and that happens at the very last episode of Clone Wars, so it was good to see how the whole story comes full circle. Overall, I think I'd give this episode like a 8.5, maybe a 8. I'd probably have to watch it again, but this was definitely my favourite one out of the 3. Lastly, episode 3, again a crazy start to the episode. We get taken to Naboo. It starts with Padme's funeral. We see Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Ahsoka. Now that I know Ahsoka was at the funeral, whenever I watch Revenge of the Sith and we get Padme's funeral, it's just gonna hit different now. This episode allows us to see Bail Organa and Ahsoka. We get to see how they kept in contact for all those years up until the Rebels animated series. And most importantly, we see that Ahsoka was actually broken after losing Padme, Anakin, the clones, the Jedi. We never really think about it, but she actually suffered a lot as well as all the other characters. It was actually interesting to see how Bail Organa was the one that got Ahsoka involved in the whole Rebel Alliance, so that was pretty cool to see. And as Ahsoka's taken off, we see her meet with Rex, who was waiting for her, so that kind of solidifies that the two did keep in contact. We then get a time jump. Ahsoka becomes a farmer. She's called Ashla, and the interesting bit was where she's having her food, and there's people that actually support the Empire. They're saying, oh, Palpatine's so great, he's doing a good job. And everyone's warning the guy like, yo, it's actually not a good thing. I know before we all wanted it, but now we don't. Like, it's too extreme. Eventually, after the drama, the guy who was bigging up Palpatine decides to snitch on Ahsoka after overhearing his sister, and they bring an Inquisitor. The interesting bit here is that the Inquisitor knew it was Ahsoka, so it shows that the Empire knew that she was still alive. And here comes the negative part for me. I feel like because this is the 6th brother, like he does have some sort of context or background. I personally didn't know who he was, but he is big enough to have a title. I didn't like how he got defeated so easily. However, it does show Ahsoka's power and how powerful she is. When it's all done, Ahsoka calls Bail Organa to help relocate the farmers, the ones that survived after the village got burnt down. And it's here that we see the official confirmation of Ahsoka joining the Rebel Alliance, which is pretty cool. The only other thing I would have liked to see is Ahsoka purifying the crystal from the lightsaber that she took off the Inquisitor. But apart from that, and the other blip of how quick the Inquisitor got defeated, it was still a good episode. I'd give it like a 7. If it wasn't for these 2 blips, this would have been the best episode. However, it does have the best start of an episode. But yeah, so far this show has lived up to the hype, and it's exactly what I wanted. I still have to watch Dooku's 3-episode arc, so once I've done that, I'll make the review and I'll get that out for you guys shortly. And shout out to everyone that made it this far, I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.